Trinity Seven, the movie, The Eternal Library and the Alchemist Girl, begins by showing Arata Kasuga dreaming of finding a grimoire or book of spells. However, when he was about to take it, he instead woke up from his sleep. Arata then told his dream to Lilith Asami and the others. However, Lilith seduces him instead, and the situation becomes complicated when Arata responds to the girl's seduction, which then triggers the anger of Lilith and Selena, because right now, Lilith is using Selena's body. They then changed the subject and went back to discussing the dream that Arata had. Because he is one of the candidates for the Demon Lord, Ilya thinks that Arata's dream might have a certain meaning. Sora says that his dream may be related to Lilith, because Arata dreams of her too often in his sleep. Hearing that, Lilith's face turned red with embarrassment. She didn't think that Arata would often dream of her. But then, Lilith told Arata and the others that her grimoire, Hermes Apocrypha, suddenly glowed. However, when Arata touched it, the grimoire instead absorbed his magic power. So Sora and Ilya rushed to help their master. And after that, the grimoire was surprisingly transformed into a little girl. While the group is astonished by the transformation, the young girl suddenly addresses Arata and Lilith as her parents, to their surprise. Nevertheless, after recovering from the shock, Arata questions the girl of her identity. However, she instead requests that he give her a name. In response, he suggests Lilim, since she resembles Lilith, which the child happily accepts. Meanwhile, Arine, who found out that Arata had a child with Lilith, rushed over there and was immediately captivated by her cuteness, as did the other members of Trinity Seven. As soon as she saw Lilim, Arine immediately realized that the little girl was indeed the child of Arata and Lilith. Because she could feel the magical energy of the two emitting from her. Knowing that Lilim was born from Lilith's grimoire that Arata touched, the other Trinity Seven then asked Arata to touch their grimoire so they could have a child as well. But then, Arata instead collapsed unconscious, because it turned out that Lilim had absorbed quite a lot of his magic energy. Elsewhere, the headmaster was conversing with Liber, the head of the Iscariot, about the revival of the Eternal Library and the Demon Lord that was sealed within it. Knowing that their opponent this time has a strength that cannot be underestimated, the headmaster then asks Liber to summon Hijiri and Lug and assign them to help Arata in Trinity Seven. The scene then switches, and shows the White Demon Lord named Last Trinity having risen, which indicates that the magic spell that sealed the Eternal Library has been destroyed. Apparently, the sealing spell for the Eternal Library was contained within the Hermes Apocrypha, which was Lilith's grimoire. Not only was it able to absorb Arata's magical energy, the grimoire had broken the seal of the Eternal Library, so that the White Demon Lord had finally risen. Ambitious to become the one and only Demon Lord, Last Trinity also plans to kill Arata, who is the Demon Lord candidate. That night, Arata finally woke up and told Trinity Seven his dream about the White Demon Lord. But then, a supernatural phenomenon occurs in the school, and they immediately find out that it is the Luxuria breakdown phenomenon, so they prepare to face the mastermind behind the magical phenomenon. Demon beasts began to appear in the school, and at the same time, Lug and Hijiri also arrived there. At first, they thought that the phenomenon was the work of Lug and Hijiri. However, Hijiri told them that the mastermind behind the breakdown phenomenon was the Master of Eternal Library. Upon hearing that, Lilith immediately remembered the figure of Hohenheim, the originator of the outer alchemy and also the original owner of Hermes Apocrypha. Hijiri said that Hohenheim was the creator of Last Trinity, and sealed him in the Eternal Library. Because the seal has been broken, the White Demon Lord has ambitions to defeat Arata and destroy the world. Lug then asked Arata to detect the presence of the White Demon Lord. At the same time, a giant white dragon appeared, which immediately launched an attack on them. Levi and the other 4 Trinity Sevens decide to face the white dragon with help from Lug, while Arata and the others will face the White Demon Lord. When they finally faced each other, the White Demon Lord immediately used his power to absorb Arata's magic energy until he lost a lot of strength and then collapsed. Hijiri and Arine immediately rushed to protect him when the White Demon Lord launched an attack. Although Arine is a Trinity Seven and Hijiri is an Iscariot, the two do not hesitate to work together to protect Arata. They even combine forces to counter the White Demon Lord's attack. However, the artificial Demon Lord turned out to have the power to regenerate in a short time, so they were overwhelmed by it. In fact, the White Demon Lord could still survive and bounce back after being hit by Yui's meteor shower, which had severely damaged his body. Hijiri and the others were getting overwhelmed by the attacks from Last Trinity. However, Arata was unable to do anything to help them, as his magical energy continued to be absorbed by Last Trinity. On the other hand, Trinity Seven, who faced the giant white dragon, also started to get overwhelmed, because the dragon turned out to have a power that couldn't be underestimated, even though they had attacked the dragon simultaneously. Akio even runs out of energy and returns to her original form after fighting against the dragon. Like Hijiri and Arin, Lug and Levi, who were on opposite sides, also decided to work together to defeat the giant dragon. Their attacks managed to slash several parts of the dragon's body. However, the giant dragon is also able to regenerate very quickly, just like last Trinity. Because of that, Mira, Akio, and Liselot then combined their powers, and together, they were finally able to overthrow the giant dragon. On the other hand, Lilith then hugged Arata, trying to protect him from last Trinity's attack. However, it actually reminded Arata of his dream before Lilim's appearance, so this time, he also tried to take Lilith's grimoire that lay nearby. Arata then asked Lilim to lend her power because Lilim was made of his own magical energy. With the help of Lilith, and also Sora and Ilya, who are Arata's grimoire, he finally gets up and tries to defeat last Trinity. Arata, who had reached the paladin level, then grabbed Lilith's hand, and together, they launched a crushing attack on last Trinity, which then destroyed the artificial demon lord's body. Even so, last Trinity was still trying to get back up with its scattered remains. Seeing this, Arata and Trinity Seven, assisted by Hijiri and Lug, then launched attacks simultaneously, until finally, last Trinity was completely destroyed and could not rise again. On the other hand, the headmaster who watched their fight seemed satisfied to see Arata's growing abilities, while telling Liber that Arata was indeed a candidate for the demon lord who would rule over everything. The movie ends with Lilim saying goodbye to Arata and Lilith, saying that she will always be with them. After that, Lilim disappeared because she had given all her magical energy to Arata, so the little girl turned back into the grimoire.